Konnichiwa, my fellow otakus, CosmoK13 here with another new video. So here's something new you all are going to learn about me. I've been a huge fan of some of DreamWorks' projects since I was a kid. In fact, I've seen quite a lot of their movies throughout my years. Some of them I hold more closely to my heart than others. Then there are those I never really got into, but could see younger kids watching and may even like. There's also a few of their movies that had such an incredible impact with the story and animation that they deserve an Oscar, while others make me question what were the people over there thinking. And don't even get me started on the fact that they cash cowed a lot of their movies and made sequels, trilogies, and even spin-offs based off of them. But the movies aren't what I'm here to talk about today. As we know, recently DreamWorks have gotten into the Netflix business, which is a smart move for them considering how popular the form of entertainment has gotten. And while there have been a lot of their series have been only based off of their recent movies, they have done a lot of great work with their original works and even reboots of others, such as Troll Hunters, Voltron, and the most popular one to me by far, She-Ra, the Princess of Power. And this is the show we are going to be talking about for this video. I actually remember seeing some episodes of the original She-Ra that played on the older Cartoon Network channel. Well, Boomerang, as many may call it. It was supposed to have been a spin-off of the 80s classic cartoon He-Man. The creators figured that since many young boys were into the franchise, they wanted to cash in by having more girls get involved. So they created a female version, and thus She-Ra was born. The first few episodes of the 80s version of She-Ra actually started out from a He-Man movie called He-Man Secret of the Sword. That movie was pretty much the start of the first few episodes of She-Ra and the series added on. I actually saw the movie with my mom about 2 years ago on Hulu, and like I stated before, I'm watching the original version on Netflix as we speak. Similar to how DreamWorks wanted to reboot the Voltron series, they decided that they should make a reboot for something for girls, and thus the She-Ra reboot was born. To be fair though, I could see why they would want to use She-Ra, since princesses have been a huge topic when it comes to the girl genre, as much of a stereotype that is. Although in its defense, the reboot was a lot more impressive than it should be credited for. While I still have yet to dive into the original She-Ra, I can say with confidence that the DreamWorks took a much more diverse and modern approach with this reboot. The designs, while looking simplistic, have great animation timing and colorful backgrounds. The characters are way more drawn out with flaws and less stereotypes than the original series, and we get more complex relationships from them. Now compare that with the 80s, and most girls from the time would probably agree that the reboot has done way better when it comes to character development, character relationships, and even more relatable events. Although to be fair, the 80s were a different time, so it would be kind of flat to compare the two when girls acted way different back then. Still, for a young adult like me, I still like the She-Ra franchise and can see how it can empower girls all over. While I'm sad that the season came to a close so soon, I am happy to know that DreamWorks is planning a season 2 for the series this month. I fully intend to watch it when it comes out because the end of the first season left us with a lot of questions, but also a chance to predict what we can expect. Now these are my personal beliefs for what I want to see or what I might expect for season 2, and while there are so many possibilities, I'm only going to narrow it down to 5. Mostly because these 5 would be the main ones, and even if these plot points don't appear in this next season, I do have strong feelings that they may appear in later seasons, considering that DreamWorks have confirmed that they plan to make 4 seasons of the She-Ra reboot. So, let's take a look at some things we might see for season 2! Okay, so it's really not a surprise that the show's main concept is the power of princesses, and again, while that is cliched and even stereotypical, they are staying true to the original material, and the 80s She-Ra was mostly known for their princess figures. While not as popular as the Disney princesses, that's a trademark they want to use for this series. We've already seen a handful of princesses in the first season alone, from Adora, the Princess of Power, Glitter, the Princess of Bright Moon, Mermista, Entrapta, Perfuma, and Frosta. Not to mention Nettersa and Spinnerella, even though I'm not 100% sure if they are princesses, and if they are, I can't imagine what kind of kingdom they would rule. While I haven't seen all of the original She-Ra, I do know that the characters they have in Season 1 alone all appear in the first version. While a lot of them have had redesigns, they are still the same characters from the first series, and chances are there may be more characters we have yet to introduce to us. After all, the world they live on is a world where everyone is a princess, and since we've only seen a fraction of the world, I would assume we would see more princesses. This is also backed up by the fact that during the final few episodes of the series, when Entrapta made that model of the planet and all its crystals to represent a kingdom, counting how many we know exist already, it's only a fraction of what we saw on the spear, meaning there has to be many more crystals out there, and with these new crystals may lead us to new kingdoms with new princesses. The most interesting aspect about it, though, is whether or not these kingdoms have fallen into the hands of the Horde or if they are still freed. If they have fallen into the Horde, then it would be really entertaining to see how She-Ra and the princesses fight back to reclaim the said fallen kingdoms. And I'm sure that if they save said kingdom, said princess ruling over that kingdom may even join them in their quest to beat the Horde. Chances are at this rate, many kingdoms have already fallen into their hands, especially when I found out that Scorpia was not only a princess of her own kingdom, but the black garnet that is in the Horde's hands belonged to her family. If she ended up joining the Horde, then perhaps there will be other princesses that have sided with them, whether for their own safety or because they don't care about those around them. Heck, for all we know, maybe She-Ra and the gang could end up finding ruins of lost kingdoms, and they may want to try to rebuild them to bring back the peace more. If we do get more princesses, I really want to see more of Scorpia and learn about her kingdom, since she is a pretty fun character to be around. I also wonder what other kinds of princesses we will see. Maybe some more elemental princesses, like a fire princess or a rock princess, or even some flying princess as well. Heck, there may even be some animal princesses. Maybe Catra is also a princess, but she doesn't know it. She could be a lost princess just like Adora was. Now again, because I haven't seen all the episodes of the original series, I don't know how many more characters there are and how many the new series will add. But at the very least, the possibility of making the Princess Rebellion stronger with more princesses would be the best way to defeat the Horde. As we all remember, in episode 9 of She-Ra, Adora and the Princess Alliance went to the Horde base to save Bow, Glimmer, and the Sword of She-Ra. During the escape, Entrapta was caught in one of the many traps of the Horde, which is ironic because of her name, and the princesses assumed she was dead. Even though they got what they came there for, they thought they lost one of their own. But we saw in episode 10 that not only was she alive, but she was also caught by Catra and Scorpia, and the two of them manipulated her mind, making her believe that her friends abandoned her. Not to mention, because of her love for inventions and theories, they used that so they could create the ultimate weapon in trying to make the world for themselves. With any luck, maybe the Princess Alliance and She-Ra will find out that Entrapta is not only alive, but helping the Horde in their plot. And there are so many ways the scenario could end. The princesses may feel betrayed because Entrapta is willingly helping the Horde destroy their home, but at the same time, they may even blame themselves. The princesses may feel guilty for leaving Entrapta at the Horde because they assumed the worst. It may even cause the Alliance to question itself, and there's a chance they may even split up again. This would be a huge development for the princesses and the Alliance. Even if they do manage to pull themselves back together, they would need to determine whether or not they should even save Entrapta. Even if they do agree to go to the Horde and find her, the question is, will Entrapta go with them? She may still feel a bit conflicted because not only did they leave her and not come back for her right away, but because she is having a lot of fun with the Horde by doing her experiments, she may not want to leave that easily. Maybe it's already too late for them to consider saving her at this point, and they may end up having to fight her. While I highly doubt that it could come to a fight between them and Entrapta, it still may not be easy to try and get her back on their side. There has been a lot of mysteries in the show alone, between the first ones and She-Ra to the power of the crystals. While some of these questions have been answered, there are still so many left unanswered, such as the Horde itself. In the original She-Ra, Horde was some apprentice to Skeletor, the villain in the He-Man universe. Horde, however, went his separate ways with Skeletor and escaped to another dimension while kidnapping Princess Adora in the process and raising her to be a commanding officer for him. But because of this reboot, we don't know how much canon from the original series will fare with this one, meaning that they could potentially change Horde's origin, and if they did, it could very well change how the series might move forward. If Horde was acting alone, then clearly the writers of the show will have to change his backstory to the point they made it from scratch. Maybe they could make some references to Skeletor, like he was Horde's father or even teacher, but unless they really do plan on bringing him into the series, I can't imagine he would have a big important role to play. Horde seems to be the main antagonist for this whole series, so it wouldn't make any sense for them to add in any other forms of evil, especially if they already have a full-fledged cast of minions. I could see them doing this if they did something similar with Voltron, where we found out Zarkon had a son, who became a very powerful and even intimidating foe to the Paladins. But again, because this is only the writers considering having Skeletor or someone of the same status as Horde get involved. And seeing as how they will only have 4 seasons, I doubt they will be doing something like that anytime soon. Unless they end up killing Horde halfway through the series and then have like a successor take his place, but I think we'll need to know more about the Horde for that. Clearly the main villains of the series will be Horde, but we also know that there are many more bad guys for the Princess Alliance to worry about, especially considering they have had their hands full with Catra and Scorpia in just the first season alone. But that doesn't mean everyone is out to get them. One of the biggest WTF moments that I had while watching the reboot was the betrayal of Catra and Adora. Throughout the whole season, I really thought that because of the relationship between the two, Catra would end up coming to Adora's side and even fight against the Horde. Heck, when she gave Adora the sword while they were saving Glimmer and Bow, I thought that would be a huge step in her character arc. But of course they decided that it wasn't going to be that simple and have her backstab Adora, even though we saw the flashbacks of them protecting each other. Although to be fair, I do like this plot twist because it really gives Catra more depth to her growth as well as Adora's growth in her role as She-Ra. Getting back to the topic though, my main concern about this series is whether or not because of Adora and Catra, the other members of the Horde will follow. Scorpia, while loyal to the Horde and even seeming to be Catra's best friend, could be considered someone who would turn easily. Sure, she is a pretty skilled and even deadly fighter, but she seems to have a big heart and only fights under orders. And again, because of her family history with the Horde, I can't imagine it would take little to try and persuade her to join She-Ra. Then you have some of the other Horde members from Adora and Catra's training days, like Kyle. We haven't seen so much of him, but he has seemed to make a major appearance during episode 9, where he was taking care of Bo. He even seemed to have developed a friendship while Bo was in jail. While we don't know too much about Kyle, he doesn't really seem like a soldier. Not that he's bad at fighting. Well, okay, maybe he needs a bit more practice, but he also seems just as scared of the Horde. Perhaps he may even go rogue and leave to go to Adora, even to find Bo again and to prove his friendship. Kyle is timid, but the fact that he stayed with Adora this long, or the Horde this long, despite the lack of combat, shows that he is loyal to his cause. But if something were to make him question that loyalty, it could help him see that there could be more than fighting. While I doubt that the Horde will crumble under the inside, after Adora's actions and what she is doing, she may convince some more characters in the army to join her. It may be a small chance, but either Scorpia or Kyle could end up joining within the next season or two. So, like I stated before, I'm not sure how much canon from the original She-Ra DreamWorks plans to use for this reboot. So far, when it comes to the characters and even locations, they've done a pretty good job with matching from the 80s version. But that doesn't mean that everything will be 100% canon to the original. In fact, like I stated before about Horde and his origins, it may or may not change depending on if they end up referring to Skeletor from the He-Man series. In fact, speaking of which, many fans can't help but wonder, would He-Man make an appearance? This confused me and even made me wonder. I may not have watched He-Man while I was growing up, but I am familiar with the concept of the series and about the character. In fact, I got so curious that I looked on YouTube for any information I could find, and my research brought me to the Fangirl who made a theory about the series not too long ago. And according to her, she said, and I quote, "Noelle Stevenson, one of the top creative forces for the She-Ra reboot, has actually gone on record saying that She-Ra exists in a world without He-Man." Now, to be fair, this could mean many things. It could really mean that there is no He-Man in the She-Ra reboot, and he may never appear, and it seems that is what the creators are trying to get at. However, it could be possible that they could only be referring to the show in general. After all, She-Ra didn't originally appear until the movie Secret of the Sword was released, and they made the show from there. Of course, if that is the case, then that means that DreamWorks would either be in the making of creating a She-Ra He-Man movie, or be making a He-Man reboot. However, considering we haven't even gotten a Voltron movie from this reboot series, and there have been no mentions of He-Man reboot from either DreamWorks or Netflix, I highly doubt that is the case. Then again, I can see what the creators are trying to do. Fangirl even stated how having He-Man and his masculinity from the 80s would be considered toxic by today's standards. Not to mention, they don't want to undermine She-Ra's powers by having a big, strong man show up just to save the day. So I can agree with both the Fangirl and the creators for wanting this. However, I highly doubt that they won't even mention He-Man, even as a reference. Like I stated before, She-Ra and Horde came from He-Man's realm, and unless they really want to rewrite the whole story of Horde, they would have to rewrite the story for both of them. From what I understand of the show, and even from the Fangirl, it seems that the creators of the reboot are using a reincarnation method with She-Ra, similar to the Avatar state in The Last Airbender, When a She-Ra dies, another one is born to take her place. I do have to admit, I like the small detail they added, and while it may leave many with questions and concerns, perhaps it could result in us getting He-Man without having him appear in the series. Think of it like this. If Adora is only one of the She-Ras that have been born, then that means that there were others. Among those others could have been Adora from the 80s, meaning the original She-Ra. Based around Light Hope's description about the reincarnation, She-Ra appears every time the world is in need. She even warns Adora that if she continues to go down the path of friends and loved ones, she may lose her mind similar to another She-Ra. That dialogue could make me believe this idea for how they could bring He-Man in. Baby Adora ends up wanting to learn more about her past lives, so she somehow travels back in time to see how they acted and what they did to stop whatever forces, most likely always the Horde, from taking over the world. She could end up meeting up with her 80s version, and there she would meet He-Man. He would tell her that She-Ra in the time, is actually his sister. Now, I know this may be a stretch, but if they do go this route, it would be a great way for us to see He-Man in this reboot without having him truly affect the reboot plot. Heck, he may even let Adora in the castle where Prince Adam and his family was. Perhaps they could have been the first ones, even on the planet they talk about. Then again, he could just be a special appearance and character that only helps Adora by giving her wisdom and battle techniques. Either way, it would be an interesting scene nonetheless. Of course, there's also the possibility that She-Ra may travel to Eternia to get Prince Adam, like a reverse version, but I think I'll let the fangirl explain that one. So, like I stated before, while we may not get to these plot points in the first season, there is still a possibility they will come up within the span of the series. Maybe not all of them, but some of these points will have to be established at some point before the series is over. Those are my ideas for what could happen in the next season, or two, or at least the last one. And while there are many more topics about the She-Ra reboot we could talk about, these 5 are the ones I could see being the most impactful on the series. But let me know in the comments what other issues or topics you want to see in the She-Ra reboot. Also, be sure to like this video if you agree that you want to see these plot point issues within the next season or 2. Before I end this video, I want to give a huge shout out to the fangirl for her She-Ra reboot to help me with the 5th plot point. I also want to thank the Roundtable as well for their awesome theories and predictions for the She-Ra reboots as well. Make sure to go check out their channels, links will be in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching, and stay classy, my otakus!